The threat is underscored in propaganda tapes featuring Americans fighting alongside terrorists inside Syria. This man joined ISIS.
And with these weapons, we'll kill the infidels.
And this Florida man became the first American suicide bomber to carry out an attack for Syria's al-Qaeda affiliate.
Know that Islam is coming and will dominate over you.
Our guest is former detective investigator for the NYPD, highly decorated, involved in cases such as the '93 terror attack on the World Trade Center, now president of the CMP Protective and Investigative Group. Welcome back, Thomas Ruskin. And also welcome back to MidPoint, national security analyst for the Clarion Project and adjunct professor of Homeland Security, Ryan Mauro. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Hey, Ed, good afternoon.
Ryan, I'm going to begin with you first on this. Federal authorities back in March said that they are investigating suspected ISIS supporters in all 50 states, found no clear pattern of the type of American inspired to try and join the militant group. In other words, they were still at this point very clueless. Here we are a month later. Are we led to believe, and is there any reason to believe, that we are doing any better at finding the killers on our own shores?
I don't believe that there is. Besides the fact that there's just greater public awareness about ISIS, that increases every single day, so then Muslims at mosques or non-Muslims just out socializing with potential ISIS supporters are more likely to report that because it's more in the average American's mind. But in terms of investigative tools or programs, I don't believe that there is a reason to say that we're necessarily more effective now. But we have been pretty effective when you consider the number of ISIS supporters out there that would like to do something like set off a bomb and how many we have arrested.
Thomas, are we getting any better? And if we are not, what are we missing?
I agree with the other gentleman that I don't think we're any further along in being able to track people who potentially are going over there. I think we're attempting to. I think part of the resolve of this is going to be working with other countries to determine who travels to countries, let's say, adjacent to Syria. So working better with Turkey and Pakistan to determine what of our citizens have come over there. We now know if you go to Europe, and I'm in Paris today, if I want to travel around Paris, certain times they don't even stamp your passport. So when I come back to the United States, had I gone over to a country to become radicalized, the United States of America might not know where I had traveled after landing in Paris or London or some other country.
Ryan, I guess part of what we're looking at here, too, is social media. We're told that law enforcement now is, and much of the government, is able to find these homegrown terrorists because they use social media to get their message out here. But that can't last forever. I mean, sooner or later, aren't the bad guys going to get a feel for what's going on here, and they're going to find new and exciting ways to basically get their message out there, and that's where we have to look? We've got to start looking ahead, do we not?
We do. But you have to have a strategy in order to do that. The reason ISIS is so effective is because no matter what happens in the news, they find a way to hijack it. So, for example, when everyone was talking about Ferguson, what they do, they hijack the hashtag on Twitter. They're very good at being able to stay current, new, and fresh. They know how to write our headlines for us and to always remain a topic of conversation. But I also think in terms of the ideological strategy, it needs to go beyond even just saying, oh, well, this is a fight against radical Islam, because what is that? There are specific narratives that cause people to join ISIS. And that's the idea that the caliphate is a wonderful thing. Various anti-American themes. The idea of Sharia governance.
Well, wait a minute. I got to interrupt you here because there's also a report out here from the Center on National Security at Fordham Law School that says, and I quote, there's a tone of teenage rebellion in it. Are you serious? Teenage rebellion? The last time I checked, at least when I was a teenager, we didn't want to behead people and shoot them.
Right. I mean, when it comes down to it, people do crazy things for many reasons. But what's the common denominator here? It's always these themes. And so if our strategy focuses only on ISIS and saying, well, how do we make ISIS less popular, it'll ultimately fail, because ISIS is the product of the idea that the caliphate is a wonderful thing. And so some of the Muslim leaders that we've upheld as moderates because they condemn ISIS are the same ones that are advocating the caliphate and Sharia governance, sometimes justify Hamas, and that's not good enough.
All right, I tell you what, Thomas Mauro, if you would, or Tom Ruskin, if you would, please hold on just a couple of moments because I want to get you to react on this. I'm right up against a break. Ryan Mauro, I want to thank you for joining us here early in this part of the conversation here. I know we're going to talk again soon. And again, please, Tom, if you would, hold on. Thanks so much, Ryan. All right. For years, the eyes and ears of law enforcement were trained directly onto our nation's mosques. Maybe they should be looking at our nation's prisons instead if they want to find out where the real problem is. These are basically, in some minds, called jihad academies. Have we lost control of America's prisons, and is that the next or the current big breeding ground? MidPoint.